Hi, do you mind talking about why you guys are here today?
Sure. I'm here because I think that this is an incredibly huge threat, and we should be here to say never again. Every time that these racist fascists come out and think that their ideas are legitimate, we need to use our free speech to march in the largest numbers possible and get as many people here as we can.
Yeah, definitely. And I keep asking people the same question. You know, a few blocks from here are the white nationalists in our nation's capital with the, members of the KKK and neo-Nazis. What do you think is giving them the energy to do what they're doing, to try to put other people down?
Well, first of all, they believe that they have their person in the White House. They think that their ideas are given a platform of legitimacy because people like Trump claim that there's violence on both sides when the Nazis were the ones who killed Heather Heyer a year ago. The fact that they claim to be hiding under the banner of free speech but are incredibly violent and bent on violence. And as long as their movements are able to organize, it's relevant to anyone who is for immigrant rights, who's for Black Lives Matter, who's for union rights, who's on the left in any capacity to come out and organize so that our side can win, because even though they think the wind is in their sails, we're the majority and we're going to win.
And that's one of the things too, is it was just a year ago that Heather Heyer was murdered at the hands of white nationalists, yet there are so many people here, so many people are coming together of all colors, shapes, sizes, sexual persuasions. Everyone is here standing up despite what happened. Do you think that the side of good will win over the side that's happening at Lafayette Square?
I don't think that's inevitable. Oh no. Well, it's a nice flag. None of that is inevitable. What we've learned from this country's history is that this is something that's been embedded since its founding. This was a country founded on slavery and the genocide of native peoples. It's a country where whenever there's been economic crises, there's been the basis for these ideas of scapegoating and hatred to find a platform and an audience. And unless we organize an alternative that is opposed to all those things and actually points to where in society our problems come from, which in this very unequal society, this very oppressive society, clearly comes from the top, including from people like Trump, we're not actually going to have a basis for winning. So I don't think it's inevitable, but I think the fact that we have such a wonderful turnout, that people don't think we need to be complacent, but that we actually need to stand up, is incredibly heartening, and we need to do it every time they show their ugly heads.
Right, and it seems like you guys all on this side have the same signs. Are you part of a particular group?
Yes, I'm with the International Socialist Organization.
Okay, great. And where can people hear more about you guys?
So we have two websites. You can hear more about protests like this and about how to fight the right at socialistworker.org, or you can head to our website, internationalsocialist.org.
Okay, thank you so much. It was very informative. Do you want to? Status Quo?
Status Quo.
News, yeah. Do you want to talk as well about why you're here?
Well, I can talk, and I can speak, and I guess you could say on a more personal note. I'm originally from the South. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm the daughter. My mother is still living. She is an octogenarian. Her childhood was spent in Alabama, George Wallace's Alabama. I was born and raised in Louisiana, David Duke's state. I am here because I absolutely, positively will not see a return to the same hell of segregation that my mother went through. I will not see that. My mother was raised on Tuskegee Institute's campus, now known as Tuskegee University. That campus chapel was burnt to the ground. My mother otherwise would have been able to get married there. My mother's father was the third provost and academic vice president at that school, I.A. Derveny. There's a strong suspicion that the Klan burned that chapel to the ground. That chapel was since rebuilt with no right angles to make sure there was no possibility of lightning striking, but there's a strong suspicion that chapel was burned by the Klan. We are here. Now, there's no guarantee of the future, but I have a different thing I want to say. If we continue as we are, who knows what happens? I firmly believe and I hope that if we continue as we are, we can defeat this evil. As Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, the pendulum swings. Well, I firmly believe there's a possibility of hope here. I refuse to give up. That's why I am here. Am I worried about what's going on? Of course I am. That's why I'm here. But I also firmly believe that if we fight in a peaceful, loving way, we can defeat this. And that's what I'm determined to do. That's why we're here. We're here in a loving and determined way because we're going to defeat this one way or the other. We've got to. It's as simple as that. We're not going to stand for human rights being shredded. We're not going to stand for Roe versus Wade being completely shredded. That's what I believe, and that's why we're here. I'm not going to stand for anything less than absolute solidarity, love, and support. Martin Luther King and all the other stuff. It's as simple as that. We are in this together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Keep fighting. Okay, as you can hear, people are passionate. People have their own reasons, their own stories. Please share this video. These people's words are very important. They're not going to stand for the hate. They're coming together. They're not afraid of the cowards who are a few blocks away. They're going to mobilize. It's really inspiring how many people are here. And as I said, this is just one of the counter protests. And there are what they consider safe spaces where they will be completely away from the white nationalists. There are other groups that will be marching closer to the area in Lafayette Square. There's one group that has a group of counter protesters that has a permit in Lafayette Square, which is where the white nationalists have the permit as well. So that's separate areas of the same park. And then there are safe spaces where people can come together without putting themselves in any harm. I have read that the police intend to keep the groups completely separate in any case, but we'll see if that comes to fruition, if anything happens tonight. I know that last night in Charlottesville there were some scuffles, even with journalists, among journalists. So we'll keep talking to people. I will wander over to Lafayette Square a little bit later. Again, please share this video. Consider supporting us. You know, it does take a lot for us to be in the field. We're completely independent media. Do any of you want to talk about why you're here?
Who are you with?
A Status Quo, completely independent, progressive. Hi, why are you here today?
I'm here because I live in the hood. I'm a white guy, so I have a duty to be as a white guy here. First of all, because if you're white and you don't stand against racism, that means you're racist. Because of the history we have, the colonialization, the master slave, all of that, as a white person, I have to be here. I'm also here because we can't allow Chocolate City to become Nazi City. And this is where I live. And I'm never going to back down because, no, the Nazis cannot take over Washington, D.C. It will always be Chocolate City. I will fight against gentrification, which is a soft term of Nazism, and I'll fight against this. And I'm moving to Germany in 2 months, so I'm going from fighting neo-Nazis, fighting against neo-Nazism, to fighting against actual Nazism.
Absolutely, and as we talk about, there just a few blocks from here, the white nationalists are on the stage talking. David Duke, I hear, is there. What do you think is energizing these people to come together in our nation's capital, in your home, and in the home of our people, to spew this hate?
Honestly, I think it's their biggest fan, Donald Trump. They've been emboldened. I'm 47 years old, and it used to be when the Klan marched, there were 20 of them. Or less. And now there's hundreds, which is still small, thankfully, but it's much bigger in the last few years. And I definitely think, even though I don't find that neoliberalism and neo-fascism very different, they're both killing Africa, for example, it's still, I think he's emboldened them.